Bookclub no Kiseki. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
I'm Matt Jorgensen.
And the portion of Falcom's Kiseki series we'll be quote-unquote playing today is the remainder of the side content for Kevin game, Trails in the Sky the Third, covering the rest of the doors we haven't gotten to yet, with some exceptions. We're focusing on the moon doors, and we might go into a couple of the star doors if they sound cool. We're not going into the last sun door that we covered because it turns out it's Campanella's quiz game, and I hate Campanella and I hate quiz games, so I'm just not gonna talk about it. That's it.
But there's probably incredibly important lore that'll become relevant in Trails into Reverie or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. In one of the doors that we are going to talk about, you can walk around all of Gransel and talk to every NPC in Gransel if you want to, one of whom is a very important person in both Crossbell and Trails of Cold Steel. He gets a face and a capitalized name and talks about all the stuff that he's doing. And it comes back in important later, and it's stupid. And I love and also hate these giant MCU-ass games.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to any of that, what's the buzz, Peach Fuzz?
Haven't you used that one already?
It sounded familiar, but it wasn't checked off of my list.
Okay. I'll allow it. I've been playing Castlevania.
Yeah?
Yeah, I never played any of the early 90s Castlevania games, even though I love the NES games. Mm-hmm. So I played through Super Castlevania 4, loved it, it was great. Played through Rondo of Blood, it was like twice as good. And now I'm playing Bloodlines, which is really weird, and I really like it. It's interesting because all three are a completely different take on how to make a new Castlevania game on new hardware. Like, they don't iterate on each other at all. They're all completely different.
So they're all like the successors to Castlevania 3. They're not 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, right? Pretty much. Like Super Castlevania 4, which came out in 1991, lets you whip in 8 directions. Mm-hmm. But in the next two, which came out in 93 and 94, you can only whip forward again. Things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I played the crap out of one of the Game Boy Advance ones back in the day, and that's all of the Vania that I have Vania'd. But I really like the series as a whole. I take it back. I played the crap out of Simon's Quest, but everyone who plays that game plays the crap out of it. I don't think anyone's beaten it. There's a whole lot of game that they just give you right at the beginning. But
you either play that game for 3 minutes and don't get it. That's what I did. Or you play it indefinitely.
And still don't get it.
Yes.
But, yeah, I've always wanted to go back and at least play the Igavanias that I really like. But I suck at, like, traditional action games. So I don't know if I want to go back and do the first 6 Castlevanias because I'm bad at them.
The term Metroidvania sort of bothers me because half the Castlevania series is not Metroidvania. So why do we use Vania as one of the identifiers of this genre?
It's because it used to be Igavania, but then someone who wasn't Iga made an Igavania, so they just said Metroidvanias because it's the Vanias that are like Metroid.
Yes.
And then everyone else was like, okay, cool, my new game is also a Metroidvania.
No, it's a Metroid-like.
It's a Metroid-like.
I will die on this hill.
I, at this point, have broken off Metroidvania from Metroid-like. A Metroidvania is an Igavania-like, and a Metroid-like is a is a Metroid like. So Hollow Knight, you got skills, you got souls, you got stuff. That's a Metroidvania because it's an Igavania like. But Zeo Drifter, where you go till you find your next gun, and then your next gun helps you open the next door. That is a Metroid like, straight up.
I like this. I'd like to call them Metroid likes and Igavania likes rather than using the term Metroidvania at all, because it's the most inelegant portmanteau I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I'm done.
Cool. What about you, Matt? And don't go into detail about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because I have 2 very important games that came out on the same day, so I'm making very slow progress on both of them.
Wasn't gonna, but y'all, it's so good.
I imagine it is
good. The pair of you will understand what this means, but I think I like it better than Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
I love Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and if this game is even better.
Yeah, this game has a clunkier opening act. Like, getting the gang back together kind of just like is forced upon you from the outside. And that's the only thing that's like weird, but like I can tell the story that they're wanting to tell. Like, this should have been the opening crawl, but they put it as the tutorial. Like, it should have been like your opening fight should have been with the other half of your party, and it just start right there. But there's a little build up to it, so it makes it a little wonky. But other than that, it's been fantastic so far.
Yeah, in my experience, Takahashi's work just keeps getting better. Like, basically, you start with Xenogears. It's pretty good, has some major problems. Xenosaga is really weird, has some major problems, but it's got something going on. Then Xenoblade 1, and then Xenoblade 2, they just keep getting better. And Xenoblade Chronicles X, I don't really like what I played of it, but he wasn't as involved in that one, is my understanding.
Yeah, and I like Xenoblade Chronicles X for the opposite reasons that I like the rest of the Xenoblade series. Like, the Xenoblade series, it's all about plot and characters and pushing through and those sorts of things. And Xenoblade Chronicles X is a map game where your map has a lot of doohickeys on it, and you run to the doohickeys and you do the doohickeys, and it's a very pretty map that you're running around in, so it works for me. It also has a character creator, so I was able to make a black male and a black female JRPG protagonist years before Forspoken came out. Also years before Xenoblade Chronicles 3 came out, in which you have a black party member that's not Barrett or Saz, and it's real good. But other than that game, and also Digimon Survive, if you're playing it, Matt, what are you been up to?
I actually haven't started it. I was going to start it tonight, but then I took a nap instead. So I'll be starting it tomorrow. I also made the mistake of, funny that Bernard mentioned Castlevania. I bought the Advanced Collection on Switch.
Nice.
Because
those games are good.
I played a lot of one of them at some point, and then I found out much later that the Shaman King game for Game Boy Advance is basically the same thing, and I loved that game. So I figured, okay, I'll give this a try. And then I bought Mega Man Legacy Collection because I was just I had a gift card, and I was in a mood for old games. I'm really bad at Mega Man. Real bad. Just
it's hard.
Terrible.
I think Mega Man is the one series that has the biggest difference in how much I love the series. It's like one of my top 5 series. but I'm real bad at all of them except for Mega Man Legends, and that's because it's a Zelda game. So I do real bad at all things Mega Man, but
Yeah,
I love it.
I have decided for myself that I want to finish one before I turn. Ooh, I can't say 30 anymore, can I? Well, let's push it back to 35. I want to finish a Mega Man game before I turn 35.
Nice.
Do Battle Network 1. It's easy and 10 hours long. You can do it. I believe in you.
Oh, I didn't know Battle Network 1 was 10 hours long. I might have to play it.
I don't know if it's 10 hours long, but it's like not much more than 20. Like it's very, very short, very fast. You basically have like 8 dungeons because 8 robot masters.
And there's that Battle Network collection coming out.
Yeah.
At some point. I'm gonna be all up in that because I love the Battle Network games.
Shout outs to Frank Cifaldi because it's his people, the Video Game History Foundation's for-profit arm. They've been doing all the Mega Man collections, and he easily could have made a like 6-game collection for Mega Man Battle Network and just have 1 through 6. But no, it's all 15 games because you have all versions of all of the different games because they started Pokemoning there at the end. And so you have different colored versions for all of the different games. And he just dumped them all on there because why not? And that's cool. Very, very much museum mindset, which is what I want for a lot more companies to be doing with their legacy collections, is to be like, oh, hey, you want a Dragon Quest V remake? Well, we're going to include the Super NES and the DS and the PS2 2 version just so you can see them all type thing. And he's doing that with Battle Network, which is fantastic.
There's some really cool not that there isn't really cool collections out already, but like, have you looked at the I believe it's called the Cowabunga collection for TMNT? Yeah, there's god, I'm totally not stalling for time because I know what we're about to do to ourselves.
13 Turtles games.
Yeah, there's 13 Turtles games, but there's also like specifically the arcade versions, the Nintendo versions, the Sega versions. It's awesome. And there's what else is coming out this year? There's the
Castlevania Advance Collection has lots of really cool features. Like you can change the region of the games, and I believe the Game Boy Advance games have uncompressed soundtrack options, which is great because Game Boy Advance compression is nasty.
It is.
And then Pac-Man Arcade Collection? Was that what it was called?
I think so, where it has everything except for Miss Pac-Man because Bamco is still mad at the people who made Miss Pac-Man all these years later.
Yeah, and like that one's really cool because you're also building an arcade at the same time, which is super rad. There's just some really cool. Anyway,
yeah. Gotta love it. What I did today is I nearly cut my fucking thumb off.
Oh,
yeah. I was. We were cleaning out the fridge because today was grocery day. First off, love Pick and Save so much. They're Kroger's in disguise, and they're fantastic. But when you go to order delivery from them, your options are in the next 2 hours or in the next 5 hours. In the next 5 hours can also be in the next 2 hours. We picked the 5 hours to give us time to like clean out the fridge and get ready for groceries. And 30 minutes later, our fucking groceries are there. But anywho, so while I'm cleaning it out, we had half a watermelon still, and I was like, let me cut this watermelon and so that we'll have space, because if I cut it, I can put it in Tupperware and it take up tiny space instead of giant ass watermelon space. So I'm cutting at it, and I like going from the outside in. I wasn't really working with the bread knife that I was using. No, bread knife, serrated, sharp as fuck. And so I try to go like up, and I'm like going slow, but some trick of the something, it was like hard to get through for like half a second. So I put force behind it, and then it wasn't hard to cut through anymore. So it just shot through and hit my thumb on the other side, and it like so it's my left thumb from the left side of the nail down around the side, like an inch long, was just open and bloody, and it hurts so bad. I was able like to hold it closed and put a Band-Aid on it, and it didn't like bleed through the Band-Aid, so I don't think I'm going to need stitches or anything like that. Summer said it didn't look horrible. It just hurts really bad because it was a serrated fucking knife. So I'm hoping that my left thumbstick thumb isn't broken, but at least it is my left thumbstick thumb and not my face buttons thumb, because my face buttons thumb needs a lot more dexterity. But
yikes,
that sucked. But speaking of controls and controllers, so the Steam
Oh, I thought you were transitioning into the game, and I was going to say, luckily you only need the face buttons for this part of the game, but you go ahead.
Yeah, so the Steam Deck is a PC, right? And PCs have this really cool thing where you can mod the games that you play on it. So at the same time, Nexus Mods has released collections where you can just say, I want all of these mods that this person plays with, and then it just downloads all of those mods for you. So I got the top rated collection for Stardew Valley called Stardew Valley Very Expanded. So it's Stardew Valley Expanded, which adds a whole ass city and a bunch of new NPCs. On top of that, it adds Ridgeside Valley, which is a whole big ass city with a bunch of new NPCs. It then also adds East Carp, something like that. East Scarp, something, I don't remember, but it's a beachside town that is really huge and has a bunch of new NPCs, and it's like a whole ass like sequel to Stardew Valley, and I can play it on the Steam Deck. The only thing that sucks is loading your save literally takes over 10 minutes.
Wow.
For some reason. I think it's because the Linux version is really easy to mod, and it syncs up nicely to the game on the Steam Deck. The PC version you would have to add as like its own special thing to make it work, and people say the PC version works a little better on the Steam Deck, but I hated all of the extra steps I had to do. So I think it's the Linux versions are always the least optimized, plus 97 mods make loading your save take forever. Playing the game is fine, there's like no slowdown whatsoever, everything is fine and awesome, but when I hit load it looks like the game crashes, so I just set my Steam Deck down, go make me some food, wait until I come back, and then I can hop in. But yeah, if you like Stardew Valley and you're like, I wish I could do Stardew Valley and everything be new again, go get that. Like, if you just go to Nexus Mods, click on Stardew Valley, click on the part where it says collections, it'll be the very first one. It's the highest rated for a good reason, and it's fantastic. I have been really enjoying it. Speaking of things I really enjoyed, the rest of this game besides this week. So let's listen to some Kevin music and talk about
Kevin plot.
Yes, some specifically Kevin does not appear in this episode plot.
even plot might be strong. A strong word.
All right. So first chunk we're going to be talking about is the Moon Doors, starting with Moon Door 1, which we played half of in our very first week. And this is the second half of it. So to get the second half, you have to bring Agate back with Tita to the door, and then we can see the rest of it play out. Agate steps off of the airship in Zeiss, and he apparently has come back to Zeiss once a month to eat with Tita and her grandfather because he promised her that he would, which is cute. But once he steps foot off the dock, he gets, like, the screen flashes white, and he says he gets a horrible chill down his spine, but I'm sure it's fine. So, back at Russell's lab, Tita and her mom and her dad are all working on the weapon to rival Metal Gear, and they've nearly finalized the prototype. Tita's mom says that they should do a combat test because they have the perfect guinea pig coming to dinner tonight. And Tita's like, Mom, I tell you all the time, Agate is a good person. We just bonded on the road and he takes care of me. And her mom's like, the sinner must be punished with death, and runs off. Meanwhile, Agate is like, wow, I'm super early for dinner. Maybe I'll check in with the guild, see if there's anything they need help with. But when he steps through the door, he feels like he's in danger. And at the counter is Erica Russell. And she says, I never dreamed my target would come wandering in nonchalantly while I was making the necessary preparations for his execution. But that makes things easier for me. Now I can tell you what I want directly. We've prepared a most perfect place to die for you over at the Central Factory. So come along. There's not a moment to waste. And he's like, what the fuck? Are you trying to kill me? And she's like, no. I just put in a request at the guild. And he's like, to kill me? Because they would never do that. And she's like, no, it's to test the capabilities of the Metal Gear by using them against a bracer. And if he just happens to accidentally die, then oh well. Outside, Tita hears them arguing, and she runs into the Bracers Guild. Erica grabs her and is like, Agate, don't you come within one cell of my daughter, and takes her away. Agate is like, what the fuck is happening? And Kilika's like, oh, that's Tita's mom, and I already accepted her mission on your behalf, so go get shot at. So you get to walk around as Agate and talk to everyone in Zeiss if you want to, and eventually you make your way up to the roof with Tita's dad, who asks Agate if he trusts Tita. Agate says he does. After all they've been to, Tita's a capable motherfucker, so of course he does. Dan says that's good because this project was to make something that could stop Patermater, Ren's robot. Tita insisted that she should be a part of the product so that she can a part of the project so she can be connected with Ren somehow. Agate says that he'll complete the bracer request and go get shot at because Tita might do something stupid if he doesn't help her out. Dan says that Agate has promise, and he gives him the key to the basement where they're testing the Metal Gear. Agate gets to the basement, and Tita is like, dude, my parents are nuts. I am so sorry about all of this. And he's like, I don't care. I'm not here because they asked me to. I'm here to support you. I don't give a shit about your parents. So Tita is showing Agate the Metal Gear, which is kind of like a robo suit from Avatar or Magitech armor type, more than autonomous robot itself. And as she makes her way around the gear, she runs into her mom, who was there the whole time, hiding like a normal person. She says more about Agate needing to pay for his sins, and he's like, can you just not with all of that? Dan and the professor show up, and they're like, he's the perfect candidate. Let's get started. And Tita's like, started with what? And everyone just laughs normally. Then they attach some monitoring equipment to Agate so they can watch him during the testing. And Erica does her success dance, which is an elaborate sprite dancing, bouncing around Dragon Ball Z fusion dance looking ass thing. It's weird, and they tell us to just accept it, so we do. They do 3 tests. One is a race, one is a dexterity challenge, and the last one is a battle, so a boss battle. And it's not hard at all. You come out of the boss battle, and Erica is mad that she didn't get to kill you, and so she starts looking for another way to kill Agate, but Tita is stuck inside of the Metal Gear, and she can't get out. It starts to go haywire, so we have another boss fight that's harder, but still not hard. After the second boss fight, Agate jumps in and cuts Tita out of the machine before it explodes, but just before it goes to explode, it rears back and beats the shit out of Agate, who takes the hit because he's like huddled over protecting Tita. After the robot gets disabled by Dan, Agate is knocked out cold, but Erica and Tita are safe. Tita runs over and cries over her spilled agate and says how she never should have gotten involved or gotten agate involved, etc., etc. And Agate wakes up to say, "Give it a rest. My head is pounding enough without all of your belly aching." Agate tells Tita to not give up on the project over something this stupid and to keep working on it so that she can be there for Ren. Agate pulls out that thing from his backstory that his sister gave him that I can't remember what the fuck it is. And he says that no matter how shitty things have been over the past 10 years, he never could ever throw this thing away. Again, whatever the fuck it was, because it became a part of him, and he thinks that Tita has something that's a part of her that she can't get rid of either. She smiles and says that she can't stand sitting down, so there's a lot of science to be done, and she runs off to do it. Tita's parents seem to accept Agate just a little, and they invite him back to dinner, where Erica still tries to kill him, and it's funny. The reward for this door is Metal Gear, which makes Tita into a badass. So if either of you didn't do this door and you just read it on the LP, go hold down the speed button and skip through it as fast as you can and get it. It's a craft, so when you're in it, you can't use arts and you can't use Tita's normal crafts, but it like doubles all of your stats. So it makes her into a big ass badass. And
nice.
It's really cool.
That's right.
So yeah, definitely go and do it. So the second door we're going to talk about is Shara's door. It's the only one I liked this week.
I read this one like when it became available, so probably about 3 years ago, real time, knowing the rate at which we make these episodes.
Yeah, it's so funny that the shortest game of this trilogy is the one that's taken us so long, but things have been happening.
Things don't stop from keep happening constantly.
Exactly. So this is Shara's door, and it starts with her, Ina, and Olivier drinking heavily at one of the many times that they've met up and drank heavily over the past trilogy. Shara asks Ina if she remembers how they met, and we get a flashback. So we're currently flashing back to them hanging out. This is second flashback. This is important because we're gonna keep incepting into flashbacks as we go along. So teenage Shara is making deliveries in Gransel, kind of lost and flustered and running around. So she comes into the Bracer Guild where Aina has just arrived. Much to Aina's surprise, no one is there manning the guild at all. They just have like a sign that's like, if you plan to shoplift, let us know, and fill out the form next to it. Shara says that there's only 2 bracers in all of Gransel currently, so they're super duper swamped. Ina has a request for the bracer to be her tour guide around the city. Shara's like, are you fucking kidding me? Waste of time. I'm way too busy for this. But then Kurt shows up, and Ina starts to tell him her request, but Shara's like, don't even listen to her. It's a waste of time. We're not friends for hire. And Kurt is like, yes, we are. That's exactly what we are. So take her request. That's an order, Junior Bracer. He says that he'll write her commendation if she takes this job, which seems super easy, but Shara's not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Aina and Shara can then wander the whole ass city and get some of that classic Kiseki unique NPC dialogue, but we're skipping all of that. Eventually, you get to the department store where Aina wants to restock on some recovery items, but while she's getting it, some dudes in black suits come in, so she just grabs Shara and gets the fuck out of there. You can run into Niall, who is currently his own photographer, and he hates it, until this small redheaded girl comes by and steals his camera, falls in love with it, and then they become the best comedy duo that the Zemirian continent has ever seen.
I love them.
I love them so much. Shara and Aina stop and get some ice cream, and Aina is mumbling to herself like, I have 24 hours left, and Shara's like, before what? You're horrible at hiding things. But Aina won't say and asks to instead go back to her hotel. On the way there, there's an optional scene where you can stop into the guild to get a call from Cassius, who says that he's going to Calvard real quick. He was supposed to go somewhere else, I forget, but instead he's going to Calvard, and he'll be back soon, which means that this is the night where he meets Joshua, which is kind of cool. At the hotel, Aina is very conspicuously eyeing the castle, and Shara's like, what the fuck are you up to? You're obviously hiding something. But before Aina can say anything, one of the dudes in black sees her, and they get in a fight. After the fight, Shara is like, please tell me what the fuck is going on. But then more dudes show up, and they have a yakety sax run all over Gransel before eventually losing them. Shara demands answers, and Aina begrudgingly supplies them. About a month ago, her grandfather passed away, and he left everything to her, the youngest relative. So now everyone in her family is trying to get the money for themselves. The will must be formally accepted and notarized, so if Aina is kidnapped or otherwise indisposed, the will becomes invalid within a month, and the money is just divvied up evenly between the family. So someone in her family hired fucking Jaegers to come after this 16-year-old girl. Shara and Aina are found by some Jaegers, so Aina drops a fucking mustard gas grenade because she had one on her, and in the hubbub they escape into the sewer dungeon that we've had to play. I think this is the 5th time this trilogy.
Falcom is good at reusing assets.
Absolutely. Like, it's annoying that we have to redo the same dungeons all the time, but it's actually super cool how, like, this is a real world. Mm-hmm. Of course, if you're going to go through the dungeon, it's going to be the same dungeon. That's what it was last game. Why wouldn't it be that this game? And it makes it really cool. I really like it.
Yeah.
But I hate this dungeon, though. Why can't we redo any of the good ones? So along the way, Shara remembers something, and we get another flashback. So we're 3 flashbacks deep now. I liked this part, and I don't want to paraphrase it, so here's a dramatic reading. The entire town smelled like a rotting open drain and was reviled, even for a slum. The people who ended up there were largely those who couldn't be accommodated in a prison, those who had been driven from the cities, or children who had been abandoned there like yesterday's garbage. I did whatever I had to in order to survive and live to see another day. Picking pockets at every opportunity was a habit I picked up from a very young age. Anything that caught my eye, I took. But even then, I didn't end up with enough to live on. There were always men there who made their living by taking from people like me. The surest way to make money was stealing from the safes of the rich when they were out of their mansions. The residential area full of wealthy people on the other side of the river, accessible through an underground sewer, was a perfect target for this. Every time I felt hungry, I snuck inside one of the mansions and made use of the skills I felt like I'd known since the day I was born. The most important thing to remember when doing this was not taking everything in one go. Instead, the key was to take only a small amount each time, enough to get by, but not enough for the mansion's owner to notice that anything was gone. With a simple piece of wire, I had access to enough Mira to live for a couple more weeks. Before I knew it, I was doing it every day, building up a stockpile of money instead of simply taking what I needed in the short term. And boy, I paid the price for it. I had it all taken from me by the men of the slums and ended up being kicked and stomped on until I coughed up blood. Everyone did what they did, or they said they did as much anyway, so that they could keep living on. Always pretending to be desperate as an excuse to live by any means, but always taking the easiest road they could find. The town I lived in was devoid of energy, but full of filthy people like them, and like me. Again and again, I thought about giving it up. Again and again, I said to myself that I wanted to stop, but I couldn't do it. I hated myself for what I was doing, hated the fact that I couldn't stop. It was because I didn't want to return to that life that I ended up becoming a bracer. Because if I didn't, I was scared I would end up right back where I was. The troop had saved me from that place and it had made me into a respectable human being. But when I lost them, I was afraid. One thought stood out above all the rest. No matter how much I tried to forget, no matter how used I became to my new life, no matter how much I tried to deny it, I was yesterday's garbage from the slums, and nothing I could do would change that. And that's it, really. One day, I'm sure I'll end up returning there. That's why I need to be strong, to stay strong. What job I do doesn't even matter. Anything I can pour my heart into that'll let me live an honest life is fine. Anything that keeps my mind off the past, anything that lets me keep the ugliness in my heart at bay. If it makes me strong without relying on others, then it's fine. It's fine. I need to be strong. Stronger than anyone. Stronger than anyone. But am I? Am I really doing all right in my new life? Am I really getting stronger? Am I, Lucy? Love it.
Yeah, that's real good.
I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that just happens. Like, you're just going through the dungeon and you get to a part where she just says all of that. So then you continue doing the sewer dungeon. And you eventually make it out on the other side. Shara is super tired, and Aina asks if they should rest. Shara notices that Aina isn't tired at all, which is sus, but they don't ever bring it up, so that's just a thing about Aina, I guess. They decide to push on to the guild hall, but then they see some Jaegers running around that they can't get past, so they hide in this empty house nearby. But because the Jaegers are now patrolling, they don't have an opportunity to get back out, so they rest for the night in the empty house. Shara asks her what the fuck is going on, and Aina says that everything she said earlier about her family and her inheritance and everything is true, but that the notary she needs is in the admin room at the castle, so she just needed to get there. She didn't need a tour. She just figured the tour would eventually take her to the castle. She didn't outright ask for an escort because she didn't want to share her backstory with anybody because she can't trust anyone when even her own family has been trying to kidnap or kill her. Shara promises to take her to the castle, and the next day they do just that. But at the castle gates, they're surrounded by Jaegers, and it doesn't look good. Shara tells Aina to make a run for it and claim sanctuary at the castle, and Shara's going to stay behind and fight off like 12 dudes at once. But right then, Kurt shows up to be a badass, and he fights 12 dudes at once. So Aina and Shara run off into the castle. When she gets there, Aina runs into her uncle, who was behind the whole Jaeger attack, and Aina kicks his ass. She had mentioned earlier that her whole family was evil bitches, but she could believe that her uncle was a good guy deep down, and of course he's not. Shara convinces the castle guards to actually do their job and protect the capital, and the guards head off to help Kurt round up the rest of the Jaegers. Inside the castle, Aina signs the necessary paperwork to become filthy fucking rich, and then she promptly donates it all to children's welfare because rich people shouldn't exist. That night, Shara has officially became a senior bracer because Kurt's letter was apparently the last one that she needed. Kurt says that now that she's a senior bracer, she's like the face of the Bracer Guild, so she needs to stop drinking as much, so she can't just constantly be getting plastered. She says, yes, sir, and Aina laughs. Kurt says that the Jaegers had approached Aina's uncle and not the other way around, so there's some wiggle room if she wants to get some leniency for him, and she says that she'll request leniency in the morning. Kurt leaves, and Shara asks Aina if she'd like to drink with her, and legend has it that they're still drinking to this very day. I don't remember what you get for that one, but it's not very good. I think you get like Eagle Eye or some bullshit. So on to Moondoor 3. I could have sworn that I had already covered this one, but it's not in any of the notes, so I think I just played it casually a long time ago. But this is Chloe's door, and it chronicles her first couple of months at Genus Academy. So she transfers into the school at a weird time, like a month before exams. So everybody's obsessed with finding out about her because it's extra mysterious because she's the princess in disguise. And after school one day, Chloe's teacher asks her to pass out. She says it's a credits sheet. I don't know what the fuck it is, but she has to pass something out to everybody in her class, and they've already left for the day. So you have to walk all over the school and find people to give them to. Eventually, you run into Jill and Hans, who are looking for the student council president. He's slacking off, and he's hiding somewhere, and they can't find him anywhere. So Jill and Hans offer to help Chloe pass out the papers while they go to look for Hans, but Chloe says no, and she wanders off by herself. Jill says that Chloe keeps to herself even in their dorm room, and she wishes that they could get closer. After Chloe finishes passing everything out, she runs into the student council president, whose name is Lecter. They talk for a bit, and he asks her to join student council because the work is super easy, that it counts as playing hooky, but she doesn't answer him. She just excuses herself to go back to the dorm. The next day, Jill and company are still looking everywhere for Lecter. Chloe helps them find him by using Sieg to fly up and look for him, but Sieg can't find him, so he's inside somewhere. So we have to walk all over the grounds again looking for him.
How many fucking times have we walked all over the Genus Academy grounds looking for something or something?
I don't know. It pisses me off.
I am sick of this academy.
Yeah, but when I was going through it, I was just speeding through it because I knew I was going to be writing the notes off the Let's Play anyways, and trying to figure out what the fuck it wanted me to do while I wasn't even reading everything was horrible. It was pixel hunting to the nth degree.
There was at least one spot in this door where it didn't tell you what the goal was.
Yeah.
You just, Chloe, I forget what exactly point it is, but Chloe's just like, glad I'm done with that. And then you get control over her, and it's like, well, what is she doing now?
Yeah. Hate it so much. I'm glad we're going to a different country next game. We don't have to come back to these same places anymore. We eventually find Lecter in the auditorium slacking off. Jill and Hans scold him and take him back to their duties. About a month or so passes, and it's exam time, and Chloe aces her exams, and everyone is jealous of her. The student council goes to meet, and Chloe tags along as an honorary member because she's the best Lecter catcher that they have. But Lecter's actually there this time. He's an asshole, and he's not doing his work, so it's still frustrating. But hey, he's at least there. After it's all over, he tells Chloe to go deliver a letter to the mayor of Rouen and leaves before she can say no. Chloe decides it would be easier to just do it instead of complaining, so she asks the dean for permission to leave, and she does so. When she gets to Rouen, Lecter is there anyways, after telling her to come to Rouen because he didn't want to, but he's just there to gamble at the casino. Chloe leaves him there and goes to meet Gilbert and the mayor. On her way back, Lecter had already been gathered by Lucy, one of the student council people who took him home. Chloe goes for a walk on the way home and runs into that ugly ass kid named Clem from the orphanage. She escorts him home so that he'll be safe. And when she gets to the orphanage, Matron Teresa recognizes her and is like, "Oh, it's been so long." Chloe apparently was raised in the orphanage before Queen Alicia raised her. Jimmy, I know you're going to be listening and you're going to pop off and say, of course, that they said it last game or something, but I don't remember if she's the actual princess or if she's an adopted princess. So be sure to tell us in the Discord and we'll make note of it next time or forget. But she was afraid of returning to the orphanage for whatever reason. But now that she actually came back, she remembered how much she loved it there. So she starts going there after school every day. Jill catches on that she's leaving constantly, and she asks her if it's a boy that she's going to see, but Chloe just says that it's the orphanage. Jill is like, oh, what a good girl, looking after those poor little old orphans like a brown noser. Chloe's like, don't call them that. I'm not a brown noser. You're a bitch, and storms out. Jill is like, oh shit, I beefed it with the only other lesbian at the school, and goes to complain to Hans about how much she blew with Chloe. And then Chloe goes out to mope about snapping at a friend when Lecter shows up. Lecter asks her why she's mad. She says that she doesn't really know. It's a big old tangle of emotions. And Lecter says that she must untie that tangle before she gets wrapped up in it even tighter. She's like, what the fuck does that mean? And he goes, I don't know, and leaves.
Okay, I found the history of Chloe and the orphanage, and I believe it was definitely said, but Claudia von Auslese was born to Crown Prince Judas of Liberal, who died a year after her birth in 1187 when the passenger ship Eterna sank off the coast of Calvard. During the 100 Days' War, Claudia was separated from her escort and was taken in and raised by the matrons of Mercia Orphanage. And she was there for the duration of the war and several months afterwards, until she could get in contact with her relatives.
Ah, okay. So she wasn't raised there as much as had 100 kick-ass days there.
Yes, and a few months after.
Sure. So, the next day, probably-ish, time jumps are weird in this store. It's like, what looks like you walk through a door, it'll be like, and then next month this happened, and it could have been right after. So, but the next scene, Jill follows Chloe to the orphanage where they run into each other. Jill apologizes, and Chloe says that it is she who must apologize. She was mad at Jill for calling her a good girl and they orphan poor little kids because she's an orphan too. So it struck a nerve, and she doesn't want to be seen as like a pitiful little kid. She wants to be seen as an actual person. Jill says that it doesn't matter why Chloe is mad that Jill said a dumb thing. Jill still said a dumb thing, so she apologizes too. Chloe asks Jill if she'd like to meet the kids, and she says sure, and they go and watch kids sleep like a normal person. Later, they're chasing after Lecter again, and you must one more time look everywhere for him. He's up on one of the roofs, and when Chloe gets up there, she thanks him for helping her, even though he doesn't realize it. Before she came here, she felt pushed around and not really like a whole person, just someone who existed for other people. But coming here and interacting with him, she started to feel like herself now. She then drags him off to do his council presidenting. End of door 4.
And just so you know, this took a while.
This, like, even on the LP, this one took a really fucking long time. It's so long. Like, all the other ones are like 2 entries on the LP. This one is 4 entries on the LP.
I mean, I enjoyed it. Jill was there, but you know.
Yeah, Chloe is my favorite secondary party member. Jill is my favorite NPC, and Lecter is cool, and the orphanage like warms my heart. So it had all the pieces of like an enjoyable thing to do in game, but like
just
we.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say
I go ahead.
Okay, Bernard, go. I
don't have anything.
Oh, okay. Well, that was fun. Let's move on. No, I'm just kidding. It has all the it feels like a small child creating a recipe. And I'm like, yeah, those are all things that sound good, but frosting coated spaghetti just doesn't.
It just
doesn't work. Yeah, none of the and it is infuriating that I can't even properly put it into words. It's got all the pieces, but they're all in the wrong place and held together with cheap super glue, and it just doesn't work.
It's held together with walking around the grounds looking for the right NPC to talk to forward the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it didn't have all of that, if it just had the Jill and the orphanage scenes, it would be fine. Apparently, all of the moon doors have, like, in the data, there's, like, you know, the sepia toned, like, sketch flashback style drawings. They have, like, the story of all of them are told in those sorts of flashbacks. Like, there's pictures for all of them. So I'm thinking that these were padded out when they realized the game was going to be half the length of all the others, and made these more interactive and cutscene like instead of just flashbacks, because not a lot happens here, and the gameplay they picked to make happen didn't make it any better. So now Moondoor 5.
This one is
really, really cute. However, it is like Sundoor level cute. It is not even Stardoor, nor definitely not Moondoor level. But alas, I randomly picked that we're doing all of the Moondoors because they're traditionally more important.
Although, you know, happiness stones are going to show up in Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Yep.
And be the MacGuffin and be super important.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's going to happen. I think this was completely pointless.
The only thing that I think isn't pointless is that I think that this dragon was real and is the second dragon that'll be alive, and dragons might become more important down the line after we found the one surviving one last time. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I suppose that is important.
But let's see how we get there, shall we? So this door opens on the orphanage, and the kids are getting ready for Matron Teresa's birthday. Mary, one of the kids who has existed this whole time, I guess, is our playable character for this time around. She's looking for Clem, and when she finds him, he tells her of a story he heard back in Rouen, that there apparently is a stone called a happiness stone that brings happiness to whoever has it. The shopkeeper says that he used to have one and tells Clem that he found it in the Crone Mountains. Clem tells Mary and the others that he's going to go find a happiness stone to be Matron Teresa's birthday present. Mary's like, whatever, and lets him run off. Her and Polly instead go to the beach to find something pretty for the matron. They find a gold chain, but not much else. So they go into Minoria Village close by to look for something more. The whole time that they're there, Mary keeps musing about the happiness stone, like the story that Clem said is like sticking to her. And she's like, man, it would be really cool if that was real and not fake. In Minoria, she asks if they sell happiness stones, and the person's like, no, but I've heard that up in the Crone Mountains nearby, you can find them when the sun hits the mountains just right, these hills sing. And right as he says that, Clem comes in and he hears that, so he tears off into the mountains where he could probably get hurt. So Mary and Polly run off after him. Like 2 feet into the mountains, for some unknown reason, Polly and Mary get separated, so Mary has to look all over to find her. Mary makes it pretty far into the mountains looking for her when she meets a baby dragon that's like 9 foot tall instead of a giant fucking 3D model. And the dragon and Mary hang out, and they like make a camp and are best friends, and they have a montage of being best friends, and it's adorable. But then Mary wakes up the next day and the dragon is gone. So she's like, I dreamed it. But as she's walking home, she trips and falls off of a bridge, and the dragon comes out of nowhere and saves her. And she's like, I didn't dream it. And the dragon says, but you did. And then she wakes up on the side of the road being prodded by Clem and the others, and no time has passed. They say that they were looking for party supplies, and they hadn't gone off actually into the mountains yet. But then when Polly couldn't find Mary, she came and got Clem and the others, and they got Grant the Bracer. He's been around this whole time. They got Grant to come and help them find her. So they were like, dang, we never actually found a present for the matron, but in Mary's pocket, she finds a happiness stone. So they put it on the chain that they found earlier, and they make the perfect present for the matron. The end.
And just so you know, this took a while.
Yep. It is what it is. But hey, it was cute, at least, right?
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah.
I liked the dragon.
I did like the dragon.
I liked the dragon a lot, actually.
I could tell that the dragon was probably speaking in a Kansai accent, the way that he was written.
Yes.
All right. So for this next section, I'm going to read some of the characters in each of the next doors, and then read aloud their Wikipedia entry if we decide we want to care about them. So the next door is Olivier and Mueller's door.
Yes.
Awesome. I figured we would, because we love Olivier.
Let's get problematic.
Hell yeah. So, again, this is from the Wikipedia, or the Wiki's synopsis. So there's a chance that it's written with hindsight from Cold Steel 4. Don't sue me. Sue fandom.com. Alert to the machinations of Gileath Osborne and their homeland of Erebonia, Olivier and Mueller start their plans to oppose the Chancellor. They meet with Davil Cranag, Erebonia's ambassador, and obtain his support. Yeah, it is. And obtain his support. Olivier plans to start in Liberal and use the Arsail to start his campaign. Mueller cautions Olivier about his flamboyant actions and arousing suspicion, followed immediately by Secretary Lecter Arendel's arrival. That's right, that Lecter. Knowing of his...
What?
Yep. Lecter from Chloe's thing. There are 2 state officials hiding out at Genus Academy, because why wouldn't there be?
Nice.
There was like a throwaway line. Now, that I didn't think it was important because it never came up in Chloe's, where that the dean and Lecter were talking, and the dean, Lecter was like, "Oh, she's doing great. She's going to fit in soon," or something like that. Like he knew something, but that's why. So, knowing of his competence and loyalty to the Chancellor, the pair began to think that they should have prepared for him being Lecter. The following day, Olivier has an audience with the Queen and with Cassius Bright, who requests passage to Hamel for Estelle and Joshua Bright. They all discuss the Chancellor's power play and sending the tanks to Liberal and what can be done about Erebonia. Olivier consoles Chloe about her leadership skills and encourages her actions. To the surprise of all, Gileath Osborne himself arrives in Liberal and requests an audience, citing that he had some spare time and that this was nothing more than a cordial visit. Osborne exchanges pleasantries with everyone and requests a private meeting with Olivier. Olivier takes the opportunity to call Osborne out on the coincidental circumstances surrounding various annexations he has made in his ever-expanding influence and power. Osborne responds, stating Olivier is a national hero and requests that he work with him against the stagnant nobility and bring true reform. Olivier questions the Chancellor about his links to Ouroboros, which he doesn't deny, but says he's willing to use every resource at his disposal. Olivier declines to participate in what he calls the ever-strengthening storm. After the meeting, Mueller notices Olivier looks tired, and the latter wonders just whom he has now picked a fight with. Lecter meets with Chloe, and they discuss things that have happened since their time at the Genus Academy 2 years ago. Lecter explains that he's been with the Chancellor even before the Academy and does what he does he does what he does for fun before leaving. Osborne and Lecter discuss their own moves on their way back to Erebonia, with Lecter stating he may not be loyal forever. An announcement interrupts them, and it is signaling Olivier's passing on to the high-speed Arsail, where he shoots the rose and scatters petals, a gesture of his defiance towards Osborne, who accepts the challenge and looks forward to seeing how long the Prince can resist, which probably will come up in the Cold Steel games, which is all about Erebonia.
I imagine.
Yes. Stardoor 9. I think I already did. No, I must not have. It looked like it did. Stardoor 9. It involves Mayor Maybell, Leela, and Annalise. I swear I did this one.
I don't know.
No, I did not do this one, but I did do another one that involved these three characters. Weird.
Weird that there's two.
Yeah. But
I do like Annalise.
And it seems like it is about snooping on a romance and collecting.
That sounds pretty pointless.
It seems pretty pointless. We're going to skip it. No Stardoor 9. If you want to know what happens in Stardoor 9, you can go to kiseki.fandom.com.
Or play the video game.
That too. Stardoor 10 is about Ren and the Patermater.
Ooh, I bet it's pointless and weird and fucked up.
It looks like this is one that just is a document to read. Just talking about the Patermater.
I don't care about the Patermater.
I think I actually looked at this one because it's a mech and I can't not.
Yes.
It's fine. There's robot stuff in it.
Yeah. Stardoor 11 is a series of theories as to who the Phantom Thief Boublanc is.
God, don't say that name in my presence.
But it looks cute, but I don't want to read it. Stardoor 12 is about Richard and Amalthea.
Ooh.
And it's a pretty short synopsis, so we'll do it.
Let's go.
So this story details what becomes of Alan Richard following his department from the Royal Army of Liberal and his disbanded intelligence division. Feeling the need for a civilian-centered research organization, Richard and Canon Amalthea found RNA research in Rouen and conduct various investigations on behalf of the populace of Liberal. Murano is their client during the time of the door, and Richard has just finished investigating the potential of Orid State for her business venture, whatever. Orid is a small state acknowledged by the Septian Church in Midwestern Zemuria. Cool. There's also news of the Red Constellation making a move in Calvard's eastern quarter, and Richard makes the head in that direction to gather some research. Richard receives a letter from an unknown figure requesting to meet in the Rouen dockyards. Richard discerns the truth of the letter and assures Cannon there is nothing to worry about before leaving. He heads to the dock where he meets a former member of the intelligence division who is still loyal to Richard's vision and demands to know why he left the army and seemingly betrayed his ideals. Richard explains his reasoning in new direction, which angers the former subordinate who cannot accept it. The subordinate storms off, citing betrayal, leaving a deflated Richard. Cannon, who had worked out what was going on, greets Richard in the rain, and they walk back together. She manages to lift his spirits. On the airliner the next day, Richard is about to depart when Sieg arrives with a communication from Cassie's Bright, requesting Richard pass some information back to him during his travels. Richard seemingly accepts and says to himself that it will come with an expenditure, but departs knowing that he is still serving his country with a smile. So that sounds like it'll all be important in Hachimari no Kiseki, because it's shit about the Red Constellation in Calvard, which we're not getting to for 6 more games.
I was hoping we'd have some of Almathea being a complete psycho.
Yeah, she was a sweetheart instead.
I guess Richard was like the only guy around, so she didn't have anyone to be wild at.
Oh wow, the next one is pretty big. It's called Assault on the Imperial Grounds. It is about Cassius Bright, and it's a summary of the events that went down in Erebonia during the second game. So, while we were off doing our victory lap, Cassius was being the protagonist of his own JRPG that we didn't get to watch, and this door summarizes all of them, but it's kind of a lot of stuff.
That sounds important.
Yeah.
Maybe we put a pin in this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been trying to bite my tongue on some of these, but this one's isn't important.
That's very helpful.
It'll come up again later, so we can safely skip this one.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Basically, because there's a little section that is like a synopsis of the synopsis. Campanella orchestrated the assault. As we know, it was only there to get Cassius out of Liberal while so that the game could happen without him. And Enforcer Leonhardt, aka Lawrence, aka Leyway, all were there fucking shit up, and a lot of things happen. But if it comes back up later, then I'm okay with skipping it because it's long. So then Star Door 14 unfortunately involves Campanella. It also seems kind of long.
I was gonna say I kind of want to see what the Joker is up to, but
it's not terribly long. Since we skipped so many, we can do it. So Star Door 14 is actually the final Star Door. It only can be opened after all of the other Star Doors, including Star Door 15. So we'll finish on 14. Let's see what 15 is about. It's really short, so we'll do that. It's another door for Rin. This door provides an insight into Ren's past, including her separation from her parents and subsequent use in one of the DG cult's lodges. What the fuck is the DG cult?
Danganronpa.
We will find out next game. Even though it's mentioned here, the wiki page for it only has things from Trails from Zero, Trails to Asher, and Kuro no Kiseki. So we got a while. It's an exploration of Ren's mental state, and the decline is provided as she relates her experiences, ultimately ending with her liberation at the hands of Ouroboros. But that's the only synopsis that they give us. It's not a very big one. But it sounds like it was probably cool.
Mm-hmm. So, big revelation we just got. Ren's past is fucked up.
Yeah. And we'll find out how fucked up in the next couple of games.
More news at 11.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the final one, Star Door 14, entitled Phantasmal Blaze. So, the synopsis is split up into two sections. The first one is called The Fall of the Liber Arc. In the aftermath of the events of Trails in the Sky, second chapter, Ouroboros's remaining forces watch as the floating city crumbles and falls from the sky. Boublanc and Walter watch from the deck of the Glorious. Walter implores Boublanc to break the silence, which he does as he states the beauty of what he's witnessing. He states that Ren has fled the region and Luciola is missing. Gilbert Stein has a moment of existential crisis as he wonders what he's gotten himself into. Campanella continues to the core of the ship, dismissing two of the enhanced Jaegers as he enters the sanctuary. He walks up to the organ and requests access to the celestial globe and space warps as he is granted entry. This section is called The Celestial Globe. Campanella arrives in a large phase space with nebula, stars, and floating platforms. 7 pillars rise from below to greet him, each glowing with an orb that represents one of the society's angui. The one marked 3 is inactive, denoting Weissman's death. Several of the angui comment on the third's demise, bringing up the Salt Pail and the work of Kevin Graham, a Dominion occupying the seat of 5th Dominion, previously believed vacant. This sparks interest from the second angui. The conversation turns to Leonhardt as the 4th berates the 2nd for setting her sights on a new guy so soon. She states that he will never forget him, and the 5th angui brings up how he was the only one who could cross blades with the 7th. The 6th states that the loss of the Blade Lord is a small loss in comparison with the departure of Ren and the Gordius class unit, which is Patermater.
And the 4th can sit next to the 5th, but the 5th cannot sit next to the 2nd.
Exactly. The 1st cautions the 6th about letting the enforcers have their free will and what may happen as a result of fixating on someone. The 6th accepts this and states that as long as the 13 factories are in his care, the Gordius series will be of unparalleled importance to him, and drops the issue. This reminds me of when you're playing Xenogears and everything is fine, and then you cut to the Death Star and just 12 new people start talking, and then you just keep going.
Yes.
So it is then time for the Grandmaster's advent as a large pillar descends from above. She thanks Campanella. She's a she. Who's the Grandmaster? Does it say? No, she has a blacked out face in her concept art. She will show back up in Trails of Cold Steel 4.
Spoilers.
It is then time for the Grandmaster's advent as a large pillar descends from above. She thanks Campanella for acting as her representative, and he responds with saying that she is without. This is a stupid sentence, and I don't know what it's trying to say. She thanks Campanella for acting as her representative, and he responds with saying that she is without saying, already aware of the events that have transpired. Whatever. As part of his most important duty, I don't know.
I think maybe I didn't quite follow, but I think maybe it's saying that what?
I don't know.
Never mind.
I don't know. As part of his most important duty, he delivers Weissman's staff into the Grandmaster, transferring the areola. The Grandmaster takes a moment to mourn the loss of all the lives consumed by the plan, taking the responsibility onto herself. The other angui tried to console her, but she states it was all within her foresight, and she deemed it necessary for the world that Weissman should direct the plan. The Grandmaster states there will undoubtedly be a reaction to what has happened in time, but that they can leave it to the Church. She declares the gospel plan over and the phantasmal blaze plan to start as the second part of the Orpheus final plan. The Angui pledge their support, and the Grandmaster ends with the cryptic line, "The bells in the west have rung, and the first pact is no more." The scene shifts back to the sanctuary and Campanella, who bemuses himself with the idea of the phantasmal blaze plan being both larger in scale and scope than the gospel plan. He then, in a moment of seemingly having fourth wall awareness, addresses the screen, mysterious stranger, to stop snooping, and the cutscene ends. That's cute.
Well, That was important.
That was the post-credit scene that we did before the end of the game. But yeah, the only other door is Campanelle's quiz game, which, like I said, I'm not going to fucking even click on the Wikipedia to know what it's about.
You don't want to ask us the quiz questions and see if we can get them right?
Well, all right, we'll do one.
Let's do one question and see if it's fun.
Okay. All right, question. What is the last name of our ultra-dependable protagonist, Estelle?
Right?
Johnson.
Ding, ding, ding. It's Bright.
Kowalski. Damn it.
Wow, that was easy.
Here's one.
I bet the rest are real hard, though.
What is the first name of Estelle's late mother?
Ooh.
Franklin.
Barbara.
It's Lena.
Lena.
What is the name of harmonica-playing heartthrob Joshua's blood-related sister?
Barbara.
Franklin.
Karen. Yeah. These are not very hard. Let's look at the maniac level.
I mean, you say they're not hard. We didn't get them. Except for the first one.
True, but let's see how stupid hard the final one is.
Okay.
All right, final question. In the short story series Gambler Jack, what is the nickname of the protagonist Jack? Is it A, Victory Jack, B, Turnabout Jack, C, Almighty Jack, or D, Villainous Jack?
Turnabout Jack.
Yeah, I'm going with Turnabout Jack.
It is Victory Jack.
Boo.
Boo.
Gross.
Yeah. Fuck quiz games, except for the one in Banjo-Kazooie. That's the funnest part of that game.
The Pokemon ones are sometimes fun.
The one that's not any fun, speaking of Mega Man Legends again, in Mega Man Legends, you can go to school and it just asks you like 5th grade level questions mixed in with these sorts of trivia about the Mega Man Legends world. And like it's like 200 questions and you can just sit there and keep taking them forever. It's the stupidest mini game in the world. I love it.
Interesting.
Yeah, were there any min moms that anyone had? I didn't have any.
So I found I liked Chloe's Door. I did not like the pixel hunting, but I did enjoy it. Lecter was sort of an interesting character. I did have one complaint, is that Jill says, but why am I even surprised? You're like a metal detector for Lecter at this point, and she does not take the opportunity to call her a Lecter detector.
Yeah, they refer to her only as a Lecter catcher the entire time. Missed opportunity.
Yes.
Brittany, if you're listening, shame on you. No, thank you, Brittany. You did fantastic.
Thank you so much.
These games
so much
are so wonderfully localized.
And yeah. Also, this is technically a Mim Mom for next week, but I played the beginning of chapter finale because I needed to go do the doors. And I talked with Olivier, and he was like, I'm going to fuck Celeste. I was like, interesting. You do you.
Yeah, people are going to see him going by and be like, homeboy fucked a ghost once.
I'm trying to remember if there was anything else I found particularly memorable. I did like the dragon. The dragon was cute and funny.
Yeah, I wasn't upset playing any of these except for the third time they asked me to pixel hunt in Chloe's. But as a big, like, plot relevant thing, like, Tita's is so important. The rest of them are not that much.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. When Mary was falling off the bridge, I did hold down the speed up button and make it go super fast, so she fell like a fucking mile before she was caught. It was a really high bridge.
I love it. When I was trying to catch up using the PC version when I thought my Vita was dead, I was using the PC speed up, which you can do without skipping text boxes. The Vita one skips the text boxes. So I was holding it down when Kevin and Reese were having their walk and yell in the Hermit Garden, and they got to the end and just stood on top of each other, like on the exact same pixel, and did the rest of the cutscene from there because I broke it.
Nice. I love the speed up buttons in this game because
me too.
They sure walk slowly in cutscenes.
Mm-hmm. And like in a better, like, cinematography directed version of this game, they wouldn't care so much about entering and exiting rooms. Like, if Olivier needs to leave so Josh and Estelle can talk, Olivier would say, "I'm leaving," and walk out, and the camera would move up to just show Josh and Estelle. But it doesn't do that ever in this trilogy. You watch for the 45 seconds it takes Olivier to push back from the table, stand up from his chair, gather all of his things, turn around, walk all the way out of the door, and then it comes back to continue the cutscene.
I have to correct you there. What would actually happen in that situation is Olivier would not leave.
It's true. I thought you were going to say he wouldn't push himself back from the table and stand up. It would fade out to him already being standing. They bespoke animate everything except for people standing up and sitting down. It's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
But any mid-moms from you, Matt?
None of them good. This is another one of those yes, but spoilers thing. So no, nope. I have none. Everything was awful. Never mind.
Yeah, I really like that Stardor 14, and it has me excited for the next thing, even though it's supposed to be a post-credit scene type. But I'm excited for the next 6 games. One of which we get to play like in 3 weeks instead of in 12 weeks like we were planning.
Yeah, remember when we were going to have this big long break?
Yeah.
I mean, we did technically have it.
Yeah. We just spread it out in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that'll do it for the week. So this series is a timed exclusive for our Ko-Fi supporters. So if you are hearing this in the podcast feed, come on over to rpgbook.club, where there'll be a few extra episodes waiting on you when you donate. By the time you hear this one, there will probably be one because we took a big long time off. But hey, come and get that extra one, you know? We also now on the Ko-Fi have membership tiers where you can always donate on one-offs, but if you want to donate every month, you can do so. And at the $1 a month tier plus any one-off donations, you get access to vote on our polls when they come up. We have one coming up relatively soon to decide our next game on the main podcast. You also get access to these Book Club no Kiseki episodes early. But then beyond that, we have 2 extra tiers, one of which is at the $5 a month tier, where we will read off your name at the end of every episode, just like this. Shout outs to Aaron524, Cerebral Wind, Anthony Lerma, Vimk, Jfro Prime, Eli Bergmoss, Doho, and Tuxedo Ken. Beyond that one, we have the $20 a month tier, where we will not only shout out your name, but also do a 1-sentence plug of your choosing. Currently, our friend Carr is the only person at this tier, and he's a dentist, so his plug is not for his Twitch stream, but for your own mouth, and it's to remind you to brush your teeth twice a day, especially before you go to bed. For Book Club no Kiseki, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
And I'm Matt Jorgensen.
Adios, amigos.